Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So today we want to talk about faith and fear. Faith and fear. And there's been so much that's been happening in everywhere, really everywhere, that has an opportunity to either have you uh, invoke your faith or stand in your fear, right? And I will say, I know I personally have been affected by the going ons. I don't know. My mother is an avid watcher of the world news, and she lives in Chicago. And every day about 5:30 or some whatever it comes on Chicago time, I'll get a call. And this that every day I've got the call. Just well, every day I have this last couple of weeks. But over the last couple of years, since I've been in New York, she'll watch and say, "Hey, I saw this." She's telling me stuff that's happened in New York I didn't even know about. So, comes along the coronavirus, and she has just been like, uh, uh, "Baby, make sure you stay safe. Stay off the subway. Don't go out. And I was like, "Well, Ma, this is New York. It's kind of hard not to." Well, yeah, I don't care about that. Keep my baby safe, and I understand it. And at least I thought I understood it. I thought I understood it, and it wasn't until last night when I went to the Walmart that it really hit me. And first of all, Walmart, as you all know, is always super crowded. It's always super crowded. But in this particular instance, there was a line to get in the store. There was a line to get out the store. There was a line to wait to get a cart from people that hadn't given up carts. Right. There was a line to park the car. Then there was no food or anything on the shelves. I mean, it was worse than any kind of like storm or anything I've ever experienced. I mean, forget cleaning products like wipes, Lysol wipes, spray, absolutely not. But your basic stuff wasn't there either. I mean, it was so scarce on the shelf that Walmart turned the lights off in the grocery section. Like, I've never seen that. People were pulling stuff out the boxes that they had in the middle of the aisle. They couldn't even put the stuff on the shelf. And so it hit home for me yesterday when I was at the Walmart. I was like, man, this thing is serious. And I got to tell you, I was walking around and I coughed a couple of times, and I felt like everybody turned around and looked at me like, hey, you coughing? What you doing outside? And I certainly looked at people when they was coughing like, hey, you're gonna get shortness of breath, dude. And it's ridiculous because I know that 2 Timothy 1:7 tells me, but God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Now I know that I've known that scripture since I was a little wee kid. However, sometimes fear still seems to be the subject that gets the priority.
Yeah. So, full transparency, as you can hear, Mark and I have been under the weather for the last 2 weeks. It's not a fun time to be sick in the United States or really any place in the world. And so I ran out of cough medicine a couple of days ago and was like, well, first of all, this cough medicine isn't really working. So I need to go over to the CVS. Now I go over to CVS like I'm a thief, like creeping, like, I'm not supposed to even be out because I'm not feeling, 100%. I go in there again, the shelves for cough medicine, cold medicine, almost empty. I'm trying my best not to cough, not to appear as someone who's not healthy 100%, even though I know that this is bronchitis and not that other thing because I've had it many times before and I know how it presents in my body, but I know others may not agree. The person at the checkout counter has on gloves. As I'm waiting in the line to pay for my goods, a woman walks in and says, hey, you guys got hand sanitizer? Now y'all know the answer. No, we're sold out. She immediately just walks right back out of the store. Like, I'm not staying in here any more seconds than I need to. So it's real out here, folks. Yeah. And I shared with Mark because I'm in the university system. The universities were a little bit ahead of this before what has happened in the last week where so many people have been canceling things and shutting things down. The university system was very much ahead of this. So a couple of weeks ago, I started getting emails about don't make plans to travel for spring break. And earlier this week, if you're not feeling well, don't come to class. And it just so happens that I fell into that grouping of people who are not feeling 100%. And so we wanted to talk about faith and fear and really have a dialogue and create a space, because that's what we do on Sacred Space Sunday, to give you an opportunity to share some of your thoughts. What's going through your mind? This is an odd time. This is an interesting situation that's occurring in our country. And how do we honestly feel about it?
And how do we support each other and continuing to move forward in life as well as be responsible? Look at, by the way, Vertika's comment.
Grounded for 2 weeks right now. Yes, no fly zone. Companies have shut down all travel, conferences, major sporting events. All things are canceled. This is a very interesting time. And I said to Mark and I watch a lot of TV and movies. Now, I can't tell you how many movies I've watched about epidemics or, it is about to be the zombie takeover. And I'm the number one person saying, now, why didn't those people, when it first started to look bad, go ahead and recognize it's going down? Get your stuff together, get out of there, make your plan. Why do you have to wait until it's all full spread and now there's nothing you can do? Now you want to come out of denial. That's so ridiculous. Why would they do that? And now I present it with, how do I really want to contextualize this situation that's going on right now?
Yeah.
Again, back to the faith or the fear.
Yeah. Vertika said in her first comment earlier that it's a blessing, right? She's forcibly being required to slow down. And there's a scripture that says in Romans 8:28 that, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. And I believe that. And, that's something I stand on. And so even in a situation like this, and where we've been really shut down for 2 weeks here at home, there's been a blessing inside of that, and it's continuing to be revealed. And so, Latanya said the plane tickets are cheap right now, right? So, there's all sorts of things that are happening, but we really want to give some space and grace for folks to talk about how their faith, how they're invoking their faith in the place of fear that the media and all of those other things would have us really be in the state of right
now. Is that a question?
Yeah, I'd like to hear some comments, some other thoughts from others on it.
Anybody interested in coming off mute and sharing any of their experiences or what's running through your mind as you think about faith and fear in this time of election frenzy and coronavirus and just uncertainty?
I will share, Nay, if you don't mind. It's Vertika.
Yes.
I find it, so I'm very grateful because I've been running. And so when I say it's a blessing for me, sometimes we need that time to just sit still for a minute. And God always provides an opportunity. Sometimes it's in tragedy. Sometimes it's in situations like this. So I'm very grateful that it is in this situation that he's asked me to pause. I also feel that there is a big amount, there's an amount of panic out there that's pretty extensive. And yes, the media has played a part. The rumor mill plays a part. And then, the reality of what's happening and how fast this is spreading, we can compare it to many other things. Let's be very honest. The simple flu, like what created your bronchitis, kills people every single year, right? There's been a vaccine out there for years, and many people don't get the vaccine. So let's just be very honest. We make choices. Okay. What I feel also is that you just can't stop living, though. And that's where, for me, with all of this, you have to have a space in your mind where your faith does ground you to the point where you know God is going to take care of you. And that faith has to allow you to continue to live. And I feel that many people are limiting so much and creating so much fear in themselves that they're limiting themselves from living. And that in itself is contrary to God's will. That's my belief.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
I'll follow up on that. So I tend to be a half full, glass half full person, and potentially I just am. I'm being very careful, but I'm also getting a little frustrated with all the panic. And when I heard the story, Mark, about the Walmart and all this stuff, people, lines out the door, that reminds me of in DC, anytime there's like a chance of snowfall, an inch or two, you go in the grocery store and it's packed, people grabbing milk and stuff for 1 or 2, 3 inches of snow. And it really hit home for me on Friday. My daughter Kendall was supposed to go to Columbia for Admitted Students Day. Well, she was so excited, couldn't wait. It was like just going to be a grand day. Got to meet with, the whole day was planned. Well, the day before, Columbia wrote the students and said that that it's canceled. So I told her, well, why don't you email them back and see if you can just come for a private tour and meet with some students. And she said she wrote them and they said no one is allowed on campus except for students. And I was like, really? Like, are we there in terms of this thing? I just think there's so much panic and frenzy. And, I'm not a doctor, so, maybe this is needed. But I tend to not think about things in that way. I tend to be more optimistic around my thinking. And I just don't tend to take things to the extreme. And I think people are taking some of this stuff to the extreme, but maybe not. Maybe these precautions are needed. Maybe people needed to get into Walmart and stock up for the next 3 weeks. Who knows? We might get quarantined, all of a sudden, 10 days quarantine, can't go out. So maybe that, I will tell you, my husband Russell said to me earlier this week, we probably should go to the bank and get some cash out and have some cash at home. And I'm like, what are we doing here, folks? So you're asking how I'm feeling. I'm just feeling that things are going overboard. But again, maybe this is what's needed. But I just don't. I don't feel it and I don't see it. And I see other circumstances where we've gone and got in our head things. And then once it's in our head, it starts to swirl. And next thing, this panic sets in. And I don't know if everyone's always rational as they consider these things. So that's my thought.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, that is one of the foundational principles we talk about here on Sacred Space Sunday. Thoughts are things. And so the more we think about that there is something to be frenzied and panicked about, then that will be reflected in our actions. And 24-hour news cycle certainly supports taking things to an extreme, because that's what it does with all news, because they literally have to fill up all of the minutes of the day. And so how can they do that? They can only do that by continuing to recycle these same stories and find more ways to talk about the same topic. Right. And it's difficult to dismiss when we know the science of it is that there's so few ways to detect, because they don't have the testing devices, the scope of what is going on. And so this is really a microcosm of a much bigger issue of any time in our lives, what occurs when we're operating in a space of unknown. Whenever there are so many unknown variables, what do you feel that unknown with? Faith or fear? So let's back up out of this and pick any aspect of our life where right now there's a lot of unknowns. You're probably struggling with the same thing. Do I rely on faith and evidence that I haven't seen that this is going to work out and the things that I am doing will carry me and that I am divinely guided and directed? And so all is working to my good, even if I don't see it. And nevertheless, I need not fear because I always was and always will be. This vessel was always meant to be temporary. And thus I can move freely in love, in passion and compassion, because I am a divine being with an eternal soul? Or do we focus on the circumstances that surround us and the fear that may envelop us and move from that
You know,
place?
it's interesting what you're saying because, you know, the Bible talks a lot about fear. And as a matter of fact, the phrase fear not is used at least 80 times in the Bible. At least 80 times it says fear not. And probably because, you know, God knows that fear can be used to decrease our hope and limit our victories. And so, you know, there's so many scriptures around fear and faith and fear not. You know, as Isaiah 43:1 says, don't fear, for I have redeemed you. You know, I have called you by name. You are mine. And so there's so many ways that we can be reinforced that it's all in divine design and it's all in his hands. And I think to Vertica's point, we get to move forward powerfully, responsibly, and powerfully in life. And you know what? I would say that this is providing an opportunity for to create some connection in some homes that probably hasn't existed because people have been on the go. You know, I certainly with us. It's provided an opportunity for connection and dialogue that we just wouldn't have had because we just wouldn't have had the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, it definitely has been a forced shutdown that was much needed. You know, I've been running on overdrive. And so, you know, I did not have a choice but to sit and stop and sleep and be still and think, and actually had some great strategic ideas and some opportunities to think about some things that will support me in navigating the rest of this year that I may not have taken the time to do if I had been moving on autopilot prior to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Noreen, I heard you say a couple of comments on the chat. Latanya, go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things I was going to say is interesting, the point that you made, Nay, about how this is another possible toxic thought or experience that's happening outside of us that we consume ourselves with. And it's interesting because the coronavirus has not affected me mentally. And it's really because there's another virus going on in my mind that was way before the coronavirus that I'm dealing with.
Right.
So it's just interesting how I have just kind of seen it as that. And when it comes to things like health challenges, I just believe that life is a journey, and there's some experiences that I'm going to have that become a part of my journey that I may not be in control of, but it's for me to deal with and address. And so the coronavirus hasn't had, but it has impacted my attitude in the sense that I've always been a germaphobe, but I'm paying much more attention. I go eat and I'm like, why is she touching the rim of my glass? You know, things that don't really affect my ability to get the coronavirus. So I've noticed my attitude being a little more negative. I wanted to read something too, guys, just about viruses, because we have viruses in our mind all the time. And it was funny, I was reading this thing and it was saying how a virus is a biological agent that reproduces itself inside the living host. And when you're infected by a virus, a host of cells is forced to produce thousands of identical copies of that original virus. So we just continue to let it live on. So this is just another virus, and we have to decide how we impact it. Doesn't mean that you don't take some of the precautions that are there, but let's not allow this virus to get inside our minds and affect us. And so the only reason why coronavirus has not had the same impact on me is because I was already dealing with a virus way before corona, and that's where my focus is. So this is just another thing that we have to figure out how we overcome and then find a blessing in it. Like you remember Tika saying, hey, it's forced you to lay down and sit down and be still and rest. Not necessarily the same impact on me, but we have to kind of look at what's the blessing in it. And I see any challenge in life, any virus, any dis-ease, any upset, financial hardship, whatever it is, emotional hardship, is all intended for us to get something from it, from us to grow from it in some experience. So
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that thing about the virus in your mind. Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful.
Anyone else?
I think, to be very honest with you, and I was, LaTanya, amen, by the way, and I absolutely love what you were sharing. Thank you for making me laugh for a second. I think when it comes to being still, I mean, listen, this year I've taken 22 flights. It's March.
Wow.
First week of March.
Wow.
And I think about what I've even exposed myself to doing that.
Yes.
Right. And so in thinking about that, if I really allowed that to limit me, I probably would have been a lot less productive. But I think the part of exposing yourself and doing that much and going that hard, the only person I've limited from living is myself, because I honestly have not stopped. I do believe that there are ways in which God kind of sends you messages or sends you direction or a tap on the shoulder to remind you that you're not in control, he is. And that in situations like this, even though it may cause hysteria, anxiety, it makes you realize that there are bigger things that you may be dealing with, as LaTanya mentioned, that this should not be what's controlling your mind. And in those moments, we have to listen. It is a smack upside the head. I wouldn't even say a tap on the shoulder, but a smack upside the head to remind you that there are so many other things that are critically important, and putting your priorities in place are foundational to really living in his faith and living in his truth, in God's truth. So I've been experiencing that. I've been doing a whole lot more journaling. I've been doing things that are probably going to make me even more productive, but much more strategically productive. 22 flights in less than 2-3 months is ridiculous.
That's a lot.
And it is a lot.
Yeah.
And so I've been finding ways to be a lot more effective. And so I think the disproportion of those trips, being all business, majority business, I think only 3 of them were for personal, reminds me that I'm disbalanced now. I'm off balance. And sorry, my I'm trying to speak the English language, thinking in Spanish. And that scale is off. It really is off. It's time to bring it to a level of evenness that allows us to be full and whole. Who am I giving the majority of myself to? If I'm giving it away to, and with that, I'm not saying that giving it to family or giving it to friends or giving that time to something that's going to fill your heart and fill your soul, and live God's true wish for you, is not giving it away, but solely giving it to the hustle. And the hustle's great. I like the hustle. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it also takes so much away from you being your whole true best self.
Love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Noreen, did you want to say something? I saw you came up. Okay, good. You're on mute.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
As someone who is studying this microbiology thing for this semester in the last week of it, yay! I've come to understand that we're in a petri dish. Our bodies are in a petri dish every day. This virus did not just get here, folks. It's been here, and they have to speak about it now because things are happening more at a higher rate, right? What were we doing when we didn't know it was here? We were living, weren't we? Not thinking not a thing about a thing. Every day letting our dog lick us in the mouth. Every day catching a fly in our soup, shooing it away. We kept moving. We didn't know. Like, I'm not saying don't wash your hands, Don't wipe your doorknobs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's just keep living because it's been here. Everything's all around us. The petri dish is ever ongoing.
Hmm.
They'll figure it out, and we get to still keep living. I'm scheduled for a cruise in about 3 weeks. My bags are packed. Now, unless they say to me, chick, we ain't letting you on here, I want them to have my first Bahama mama waiting for me. I'm just saying. So, like, we really got to be careful about how we allow the them to influence our us.
Yes.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
First Bahama mama waiting for me.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, taking your power back and living
Yeah.
your life, right?
Yeah.
Because every day that you let, you know, float away is a day you don't get back. And the possibility that each opportunity gives you in the new day is real. We're here for a purpose. If you believe you're here for a purpose, I believe we're here for a purpose, then each day is meant to be meaningful, right?
Mhm.
And what that meaning that gets created on each day may vary, but each day matters. Each day matters. And so letting just one slip away is not a small thing. It's not a small thing. So thank you, Noreen, for that contribution.
Mhm.
Mark, did you have any other thoughts?
No, I
Something
mean,
wanted
you
to
know,
share?
I think that, you know, we talked about fear and faith, and the reality is that my faith has to be bigger than my fear.
Yes.
You know, that fear, you know, there's some places where they say it's false evidence assumed real. There's all sorts of acronyms for fear and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, my experience with fear is that when it is the priority, I am immobilized. I don't move forward. I don't do because of the fear. And so the cure for fear in most cases is massive action, right? And so if I'm scared to walk, you know, down a busy highway sidewalk, then the only way I'm gonna get over that is to keep walking down the busy highway sidewalk. Now, in this case, you know, what we're talking about is with all of the other things around us, how do you have your faith be stronger than your fear? And for me, it's the spiritual grounding, you know. And I said this over 80 times in the Bible that is mentioned to fear not, you know. And so I think about, it says, you know, Deuteronomy 31:8 says, He will never leave nor forsake me. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. And so, like, I really get to hold on to that. And that's what I've done in any time of really not knowing, is hold on, because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, according to the Bible. And so, I mean, I if I saw it, I wouldn't need the faith. And so I get to have faith that it's going to be all right, that I'm in God's divine design, and that I'm covered, and that nothing is going to happen that won't be allowed to happen, and whatever does happen is going to work together for the good. And so, like, those are the tenets that I stand on. I would say the insight plus action equals results is the things that are your faith, the tenets of your faith, to invoke them. You know, to say them out loud, to write them down, like you said in the journal, to write how they've supported you in the past, how when you didn't know in the past and it happened. And you didn't know what was going to take place, you didn't know how it was going to turn out, or you didn't, whatever, and you had faith in the absence of knowing, and your faith supported you, you know. And so that's what I would say the insight plus application is. Excuse me.
So just getting that down, that the insight this week plus the application is invoke your faith.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, said another way, keep living.
Yeah.
Out loud, full. And as Noreen said, you know, yes, wipe your doorknob.
Yeah, be responsible.
Use your,
take precautions.
The same stuff your grandmama told you. The same things that we know how to do anyway, right? Pay attention, be more intentional and thoughtful, and live.
Yeah.
And live. So yeah.
I think that's it. What you? Yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments?
Well, I will tell you, we're excited to be here today. We're not running on a full tank, and that's okay. We got up and we've had moringa tea and smoothies and all sorts of stuff because we weren't going to miss it, no matter what. And thank you that we didn't have voices just 5 hours ago. We didn't
Right.
have voices, and right now we're able to speak
Right.
through this thing. And so
Right.
that's invoking the faith.
That's right.
That's invoking the faith, and it works.
And,
It
and,
works.
and
And
God
so,
is good.
yeah.
And you know, like you said, there are byproducts that support us because we've been very attentive to our diet this week, or our live it, as we were the new language that we get to embrace.
Yeah.
And so we've been very conscientious about what we've been putting in our bodies, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So as we say, looking for the lesson in it and the opportunity that we can get to continue to have power and agency in the situation. And we never want to release our own power, our own beliefs, our own ability to direct our paths simply because of the information that is coming our way. Because so much of that information that we get through that boob tube is really coming from places that we can't imagine.
Yeah.
The agendas and the different forums and the different platforms and the different voices that are feeding that comes out as something that is seemingly objective, but is far from it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Pharmaceutical grade hot toddy. Yes, you ma'am. We absolutely will.
Yes.
That is in short order.
Hey, and so if there are any other comments, we'll open up the mics. Come off mute if you have something else to contribbe. But I've said we're grateful for the Sacred Space Sunday.
Yeah, we'll do a closing prayer. Send everybody into the week.
Once again, donations are accepted. We don't have an offering basket, but like they pass it, so it's a virtual pass in the basket. For those that are listening, join us. Because the Facebook Live people jump on and off at different points in time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and be with you. We love you, and we're looking forward to the Bahama Mama. I have my Bahama Mama ready. I would love that. I'm going to take that with me this week, and I'm sure it'll have me smile a few times. And so thank you so much. And so do you want to close us in prayer? No. You want me? Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to commune and fellowship. Thank you for the faith that's been shared jointly. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for the reminder to live. Thank you for the reminder to be present and to give to that fills our heart and fills our spirits and fills our souls. And thank you for love and for family and for friends. And thank you for those that care about you, care enough about you to tell you honestly about you and about how they feel about you and to uplift you and also to give you checkups when it's necessary. Thank you for the love that is greater than anything else. Thank you for the truth that it's all in divine design and that there is nothing greater than the ultimate power, the ultimate authority, the universal great I am. And because of that, and that is being a part of us, that we have all power and all access to that power. And so thank you for the blessings. We thank you for putting your angels around all of us that are in the listening universe and for comforting and protecting, and for those that are traveling, safe travels, and for those who are grieving, the Penn family, my good friend Wesley Penn is his mother. They laid his mother to rest this weekend. We thank you for all the love that was just poured out on their families and others that are around and maybe in similar situations. We just thank you for the ability to come together and to say thank you. And until next time, we ask that you just continue to bless us and continue to let us be a space to receive your blessings as well. In your name we pray. Amen. So it is.
Amen. And so it is. And so we send blessings. Thank you for inviting us into your homes this morning. Be well, live well, And we will be back here in great spirit and in great joy in 2 weeks.
2
Love
weeks, y'all.
everyone.